Hello, 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 you guys. This is always my favorite time of year, the EMA Summit Impact. I feel like I'm always learning so much, and I've made so many great memories over the years. And today, I get to tackle a subject that is near and dear to my heart, tea. This year is the 50th anniversary of one of the greatest tea companies in the world, Traditional Medicinals. And to help us celebrate their particular brand of flower medicine, today we are joined by Chief Science Officer for Traditional Medicinals, Taryn Forrelli. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes. This is going to be such a great conversation. There's a lot to tackle.
Yes.
Okay, so first, can you share with us who you are and what you do at the company?
Well, who I am, I'm many things, but I often respond to that question by saying I'm a naturopathic physician by training. So holistic medicine is something that I've been passionate about for a long, long time. I've spent 20 years working in the dietary supplement industry, and I've been with Traditional Medicinals for 3.5 years. I oversee research and development, innovation, and quality.
Fantastic.
It's a really good job.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And what is the role of plants in our lives today? When you talk about plant wisdom, can you explain that to all of us?
Such a good question to start with. What don't plants do for us? We are literally nothing without plants. The air, every breath that we take is a gift of the plants. The food, whether you're vegetarian or not, it starts with the plants in this magical process, seemingly, of photosynthesis. Water, the waterways are regulated by plants. They give us much of our clothing, much of our shelter, the beautiful woodwork that we love. They give us beauty. They delight our senses. They also are part of our traditions and cultural, spiritual significance.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, they are a part of really everything we do. And they also shape our consciousness. Even though we may not be thinking about this, 70% of the population wakes up every morning and has a cup of coffee.
Right.
And a lot of people reach for chocolate when they want to boost their mood, or maybe a cup of chamomile tea when they want to calm down. And it's through these practices that we actually shape kind of the lens that we experience our world and our lives, which is really powerful. But there is this phenomenon called plant blindness that humans tend to suffer from.
Right.
And that word, or those words, have been used to describe this kind of lack of seeing the fact that plants are more than just the background, that they are absolutely foundational to our existence. And I would say, in contrast to that, is plant wisdom. And that is this deeper awareness that we are intimately linked to plants. And yeah, there's kind of different facets of plant wisdom. I mean, there's the traditional knowledge that's been passed down generation to generation. Plants are the original medicine.
Right.
And yes, as long as humans have been around, I think we've been using plants to basically help us human better. So there's that piece. There's also, when you just think about plants as their own living beings that they have this type of innate intelligence where they are aware of their environment, they're sensing, they're adapting. And even though plant intelligence can be a somewhat controversial term, the scientists these days continue to be fascinated by the ways that plants are very much responding at all times to the same type of ecological issues that we are.
It's almost like they're mirrors. Like
That is a beautiful word,
right.
yeah. And that leads me to the third piece of plant wisdom, which is the way that we can be in relationship with plants such that they are our teachers. And they are these mirrors when we observe them and we engage our senses and our intuition to just be with those plants and allow them to teach us. So yeah, that is, when I think of plant wisdom, is all the things that I think of. And this idea of humans being in relationship with plants, especially reciprocal relationships, is kind of at the heart of herbalism.
Oh, I love that so much. I feel like that is just something that almost when you start playing with that, it becomes more and more potent. Like what works, what doesn't work, you become more sensitive.
Yeah, I mean,
so many ways.
It's the presence. It's paying
Right.
attention
Right.
that you start to see the beautiful flowers for more than just a piece of art.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, so you mentioned that plants and humans coexist and have reciprocal impacts on one another. Maybe just explain that a little more, and why is it important as humans to honor our relationship with plants? Like for some that's super obvious, for some it's not.
Yeah, well, a relationship is a two-way thing. It's an exchange. And so plants give to us. I was just gushing about all the ways that they give to us. But ultimately, in a relationship, it's important to give back. And we need to show our care for the plants in the same way that they care for us. And, there's some simple ways to do that. Obviously, planting a garden can be a beautiful way to do that. All of the farmers that use organic and regenerative practices to grow our food, also preserving the wild landscapes. That's a big part of, basically being in relationship, tending to the plants. And when we look back at some, I'd say, inspiring examples of how humans, being keystone species, have been in reciprocal relationship with the land, you can look to the indigenous people of California. And what they did is they tended to the land through things like cultural burning, which would prevent the bigger fires and regenerate the soil and help to promote the growth of things like oak trees that were one of their primary food sources. And so when we look at the kind of wild landscape, it actually isn't that wild because there were human hands involved in making it what it is. The other piece about indigenous land tending and reciprocity is it was also done with kind of a spiritual approach. And so it wasn't just these physical practices, but when they would harvest the plants, there was an expression of gratitude. It was an exchange, a conversation, and the plants were not seen as resources necessarily to just take, but something to respect and, again, give back to. And honor, right? And fortunately, we still see this in many of the sourcing communities that Traditional Medicinals works with. So in Appalachia, we work with wildcrafters that go out to get the slippery elm bark. So slippery elm is a tree, and it's usually up in the mountains. And so we have these generations of families that have been practicing the harvesting of slippery elm. And they do it in a way that is sustainable. So you can only take a little part, a strip of the bark. Otherwise, the tree will not produce as much mucilage, technical term, but essentially that's the compound in the tree that coats your throat. Makes it slippery and soothing, right? So, you can't take too much of the bark or the tree could even die. So they're very conscious, and there is a practice of, again, giving thanks, whether that's just a verbal thanks or leaving some water or some other herb that is special to them. So yeah, it's important not to do these practices not only for the future generations so that we have these beautiful plants available, but also for right now, for our own well-being.
Yeah.
Um, there's something called biophilia. Have you heard of that before?
No. And I'm fascinated. Go on.
Well, this was a term that was coined actually in 1984 by a gentleman named E.O. Wilson, an environmentalist. And he said, and it's true, that humans are actually hardwired to love nature. And in fact, our physiology responds when we're in nature, like forest bathing, right?
100%.
Like your cortisol, your stress levels go down, you relax.
Yes.
And in fact, Kevin Neely was saying this morning, like, oh, when I'm doing my hikes, people just seem more open.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because nature does that to us.
Yeah, it is healing.
It is healing. And so it's important that we have this practice of reciprocity because it's important for our well-being and our mental health. So
I just love that so much, and I feel like it allows us to just be even more present.
absolutely.
You know? So it's that thing of like teaching us, notice me, see me,
Yeah,
feel me,
right.
in these really intense ways that we would otherwise just take for granted.
Absolutely.
I love that so much. And so when we talk about plant medicine, just give us a good overview of
Yeah.
what you mean.
I mean, it's somewhat straightforward, but generally it is the practice of using plants. It's also known as herbal medicine, of course, for physical, emotional, mental, and even spiritual well-being. And it's been, like I said, passed down for generations. It's one of those things that we have in our culture today that thankfully has not gone away altogether.
I feel like there's been a resurgence.
There
right?
absolutely has been. We're experiencing one right now. And that's exciting. I think I did want to say one thing. I often hear plant medicine being associated with the psychedelic community.
Yeah,
these
same.
days.
Yeah.
And that can be appropriate. I mean, certainly plants can be used in that way, but it's just such a small facet of the practice of herbal medicine. There are roughly 30,000 medicinal plants. It's about 10% of the species of plants that have been identified to be medicinal.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them, and 80% of the world's population still uses herbal medicine as one of the primary forms of healthcare. But here in the US, of course, we've kind of switched, and the dominant system is pharmaceuticals.
Right.
But that's only happened over the last 150 years with the advent first of aspirin from willow, which is a plant,
Right.
morphine from opium poppy, and then, it just kind of goes on from there. But to your point, back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, there was the first kind of herbal renaissance. And that's when Traditional Medicinals was founded. One of our founding herbalists, Rosemary Gladstar, she was excited to get these products out into the world and to educate people about herbs, which education remains a foundation of what we do today. So that happened, and that was like a way of people, the counterculture saying, no, health and herbalism is something that we should have sovereignty over. This is the medicine of the people. And so, it's kind of gone through these waves. Some people call it complementary or alternative, but it is.
It's actually like original.
It's original, and it's there for us always. So, my heart is very excited about the resurgence that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm so inspired. I mean, I really do love this world so much. And I feel, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I do feel like if you're sensitive, that oftentimes like an herbal approach is more gentle than, going to the pharmaceuticals. Because I do feel like for sure there's room for both.
Right.
But it doesn't need to be dominated
Right,
as it
right.
is in this country.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think an easy way, like philosophically, to think about herbs versus pharmaceuticals is that pharmaceuticals are a single compound. It's a reduction, it's this idea of reductionism down to one compound, usually targeting one biochemical pathway, although not always. But yeah, it's kind of like going after this one thing. Herbs, on the other hand, are very complex, just like most living systems, right? And in that complexity is their efficacy and safety, because they kind of, more than like using the hammer approach, it's more like singing a song. It's like a symphony of chemistries. So you have like hundreds to thousands of chemical compounds in a plant. And so, yeah, a lot of times that can be a little bit more gentle, but it's can be very effective too, right?
Sure.
And I agree, there's a place for both. But herbs are something that can be part of our daily life too. We were talking a little bit about this backstage. It's not just I'm sick, which herb should I take?
Right.
But ideally, you use herbal medicine just like you incorporate healthy foods. And it's part of that awareness of, wow, being human is really hard. Like 60% of people are stressed out on a regular basis. And stress is really bad for your health. What can you do for that? Well, there's no pharmaceutical for stress.
Right.
But the plants are something that can actually make our bodies more resilient to stress.
I love that. Right. So you're not putting, the Xanax Band-Aid.
Right.
But having the ritual and the herb together. Like there's a lot of different elements. When you're doing the ritual, for example, if we're going to talk about stress.
Let's do it, yeah.
We're talking about stress. You've had a day. The ritual of preparing a tea, which tea, taking the time with it. It's not just the quick.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why tea is such a beautiful form of herbal medicine, because it does just naturally slow us down.
Right.
And there's ways to make that ritual more impactful. I think, like you said, you may be like, okay, I'm going to have a cup of tea and sit down. But there's ways to actually apply even more mindfulness to the process, so that when you're making the tea, while you're waiting for the water to boil, you might be thinking, like you said, oh, which plant do I want today? And while you may also think about, well, where does that plant come from, right? And you can use your imagination. Imagine a field of chamomile flowers, or the dandelion growing in your backyard, and just kind of be with that. And I also like to think of the people whose hands were involved in bringing those plants into the cup, into the tea bag. And just having that moment of gratitude for that is a great way to start. But then when you actually are going to consume your tea, it's also really powerful to take the time to kind of have a few deep breaths, kind of clear your mind, and use your senses to see what these plants do for you, what they bring up, because things like scent and taste are hardwired into our brains. It's like connected directly into the hippocampus, so that when you smell something like a rose, and by the way, rose is in both our Rosy Mood tea and our new Stress Ease Calm.
Yes.
But the scent of a rose within 1 to 2 minutes has been shown to, again, lower cortisol, relax your blood vessels, and just make you more open-hearted, right? So yeah, those types of like noticing what happens when you are with that plant can be a really important way to have these relationships and to learn about herbs. It doesn't all have to be studying in the books. It can be your own experience.
It's so inspiring to hear you speak in this way, because I just think, like, don't you all just want to go and have a cup of tea and figure out which one? There you go. But really, it's just inspiring, because again, it promotes that presence and awareness and health, and that's longevity. It's
Absolutely.
All of it together. So let's see. Okay, so let's just go to have a little history here. How has it been? How has herbal tea been used historically as plant medicine?
Yeah, so tea is more technically an herbal infusion. It's basically where the plant is in water. The water is the solvent that essentially extracts the chemistries in the plant. Um, and it has a long history of use, kind of predating written history. There's archaeological evidence dating back for 4 or 5,000 years. And technically, tea is a misnomer because it was originally the word that was assigned to just infusions made from Camellia sinensis, which is the plant that makes green, black, oolong, and white tea.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So when the traders, the Dutch traders, started bringing tea over to Europe in the 17th century, they were making herbal infusions, but they called them tisanes.
Uh-huh.
And then this became such a popular practice, having, I think black tea then, that they just started conflating the terms and everything became tea. So whether it was an herbal tisane or a Camellia sinensis type of infusion, it just all became tea. And it became very popularized in that way in the 19th and 20th century.
I'd way prefer saying, "Can I offer you an infusion?"
Exactly. Yeah, and then you infuse your body with it, right?
Yes.
So it is. It's a way of making medicine that, again, probably has been around as long as humans have been able to boil water. And it's very effective and easy to do. And like we said, we see more and more people doing this. At Traditional Medicinals, we actually, I believe it's like 2,000 cups a minute are are prepared. So, in the time that we've been talking, probably like 30 to 40,000 people have had some Traditional Medicinals tea.
So they're in the know.
So, but what that means is that people are infusing their bodies with these plants, right? They're turning to the plants. And it makes me think that people are becoming more aware of the importance of plants in our lives. And so I get really excited about all that.
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah.
And especially, as you said that, traditional medicinals, they gather all their herbs and everything is wild and sustainable. And again, that feels so good.
Right. I mean, we are as much about people having access to the plants as we are taking care of the people that harvest, grow the plants throughout the whole supply chain. So we are we're kind of like 99% organic. There's a couple products or ingredients that we can't get organic, but we are also very committed to fair practices. And we've made a commitment that by 2030, we want to be at least 80% of our ingredients fair certified, Fair for Life, and we're well on our way for that. So, we believe we must take care of the people because their livelihoods are, we're so dependent on them, and they take care of the land, and they prevent by taking care and growing these herbs, they prevent it from being used for other things like cattle and other types of operations. So we're really paying attention to those people.
Oh, I love. Can we have a round of applause for that? That's so epic.
Yeah.
So important. So let's see. Can we move up one question? Yes. No. Yeah. Okay. Okay, how can I make sure that I'm honoring the reciprocal relationship between plants and humans? It's a piece of advice, like if I walk away today that I'll think about.
Yeah. Well, I have several.
Okay, good. Even better.
I mean, I think it does start with gratitude. I mean, just as a basic tenet of how do you be in a relationship? Well, you are grateful for all the gifts that they give us and then give back, and expressing that gratitude, whether it's, you wake up every day and, you look at the sun and you look at the earth and express gratitude for that. Or maybe it's, the simple practice, like maybe when you were younger, you said a blessing before your meal, because all those plants come to us. Our food is all a gift from the earth. Then this kind of mindful tea practice that we talked about, that can be a really powerful ritual. And when you do it daily, you start to, like we said, develop these kind of intimate relationships with the plants. And I like to tell people, maybe start with a plant and use it for a month and just kind of see what that does and really get to know the plant in that way. So you might want to start with something like nettle, which is kind of this beautiful, earthy green, comes from the forest plant that is a tonic herb. So herbs can either be kind of short acting, when you need like quick relief, like for your throat, throat coat, or something like Smooth Move, they can definitely do that. But again, the best relationships are going to be the ones that you kind of nurture over time. And so things like nettle or lemon balm is another one of my favorites. That's one that's in the mint family, but it's something that's very relaxing to the nervous system and has hints of lemon, citrusy scents. So it's a really pleasant one. It's also one that is easy to grow. So another way, again, is plant yourself a little garden, even if it's in a container. There's certain herbs like lemon balm, peppermint, lavender, thyme, very easy to grow. And when you see the plants go through their cycles, their natural cycles with the seasons, and you're caring for them directly, that is a gift. That is a gift to both the plant and to yourself. That's where it all starts. Getting to know the plants all around you, your local plants, like get out on the trail and get to know them. Or maybe even it's just walking down the street and see who's popping up out of the cracks,
Right.
That's a way also to be conscious, because you're sharing the land, that you're sharing the experience with that plant. And there's a lot you can learn from them. Obviously, buying products from brands that are, high level, doing the types of things that Traditional Medicinals is doing in terms of a commitment to organic. I always say it's hard to kind of justify using products for health like herbs that aren't organic.
For sure.
Because it's like, then, well, that's not good for the planet or your body.
100%,
right?
yeah.
So, those sustainable practices, ask, do you know where these herbs come from? And if they can't tell you, well, that's probably a problem.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, and people here know so well, is how can you be more active in your community? How can you, participate or, be a part of land conservation? We say with Throat Coat, one of the campaigns we had is voices are for using, not losing.
Oh,
right?
I love that.
So use your voice, and I think those are some great ways to kind of just start to practice being more conscious, being more attentive, and learning how to really have appreciation for the plants.
Thank you for sharing those. It's funny, like we kind of talked about this before. It seems so obvious, and yet we so easily forget these basic things that are around us. Like, this is life. This is it.
This is it. And it's actually surprising that, the plants, I did want to explain this about how do plants work. So they can't move, right? They've been around for like 300 million years, humans about 300,000 years, but they've created strategies for survival because of their lack of mobility that has a lot to do with protecting themselves from stressors like predators, pests, too much UV light, and that is their chemistry that they produce. So when we take in the plant, we are essentially getting the benefits of all their strategies that they've created. And so like the people, like the antioxidants, right? Like we have too much oxidative stress. We need more antioxidants. The plants have them for us, right? So I think like just being aware, that's where I think like the science piece comes in and can really help to be like a wow moment for us of, again, appreciation, of wonder. We can really look at those plants as living beings that are really kind of doing us a service and themselves. I mean, obviously they don't exist for us, but
Right, right. No, but they're there
yeah,
offering us
yeah,
everything if we're open
everything.
to it.
Yes,
If we
yes,
open our eyes to it.
absolutely.
I literally could talk to you all day.
Thank you. This is fun.
So many questions. One last, actually, question. I sort of asked you this backstage. So you mentioned a couple herbs that you love. You said lemon balm. You said nettle. For someone that is sort of new to drinking tea, we know things like throat coat for our throat, ginger when our belly aches. But like, if you wanted to incorporate sort of a one great longevity, sort of starting to create a relationship with a plant and a herb, what is one that you would say, try this one for a month?
Yeah. Well, I do think this new Stress Ease Calm product is one that pretty much everyone can benefit from because it does have adaptogens in it. One of the featured one is ashwagandha that a lot of people have probably heard about. It's trending. But that, again, is the thing that can help us just kind of like take our nervous systems down a few notches, and it becomes noticeable over time. And so, because that's something, again, stress impacts our longevity, if you can dial down the ratchet on how your body deals with the stressors so that they're not so like debilitating, but you can actually roll with the waves, that's what that can do for you.
That's great. And
Yeah.
something like that at nighttime, in the day, doesn't matter.
Any time of day. Yeah, it's really a pleasant tea.
Okay.
So it has honey bush in there and rose as well. It's something that I think we just launched this one. So it's part of our
Super
Stress Ease.
excited.
We have 3 other Stress Ease products because we really do believe that stress is something that
It is.
is important for people to pay attention to. So we have one with immune benefits in it. So combining stress with immune, one with focus. So if you really find yourself kind of in a slump in the afternoon, the focus one with ginseng can help give you a little boost. And then another one is tension relief, which is really great if you get like tense shoulders. It kind of just like puts a little bit of a relaxation wave through your body.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to know that. I feel like I'm perpetually like this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the herb called skullcap.
Ah,
And she's a magical one.
okay, see?
Yeah.
I mean, literally. Yeah.
Skullcap. It's called skullcap. It sounds scary, but it's not.
For tension relief.
For tension relief.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Taryn, I literally, I cannot thank you enough. Is there anything that you want to add? Just because I really do feel like this is vast.
Thank you. Yeah, I know there's so much that we could keep talking
Yeah.
about, I'm sure. Well, I do want to say I'm really excited, like I said, that people continue to turn to herbal medicine, and we're committed to educating people. We are about to launch a program called the Plant Wisdom Collective, which is a free online education series. It's going to be available on our website. I believe it's launching in the next month here. So people should definitely look for that as a way to, again, learn more about herbs. It's so empowering to know a little bit more about how to take care of yourself and keep spreading the word. You know, let's bring back
Absolutely.
herbalism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in. Are there any questions that you guys might have for Taryn, the magician?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play with all the new flavors.
Yes.
And have a great rest of Impact.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.